name of the sacred mushroom. In other words, you have a number of such passages in the New Testament where you have an Aramaic name, and then you have a translation, inverted commas, supposedly a translation, which has never joined up. They've never made sense. Now I think, if you look at that Aramaic name and think, well, perhaps it's not Aramaic, but an early invocatory name, a magic name, which in certain circumstances could be pronounced and made powerful, then right, you purvey that because your centre of your cult has been destroyed, as it was. It's called Jerusalem was destroyed in AD 70. You have a number of cells in the outlying districts around the Mediterranean. You want to keep them in touch. You want to remind them of their secrets, but you daren't purvey it in written form. So what do? You put these names and phrases into a cover story that can be purveyed. And that, I think, is what the New Testament is.
Oh, that's some amazing footage of John Allegro, who was commissioned by the church to decipher the Dead Sea Scrolls back in 1947. His discoveries supposedly shocked the church, and they didn't want him to publish what he found.
In the beginning, Christianity is a drug cult. Then we came to the question, what is it now?
Yes.
In moral and ethic.
Yes, right. And for most people, I suppose, Christianity is a way of life rather than a religion.
Yes, yes.
Discrepancy.
Yes,
yes.
Yes.
Yes, and one wonders how on earth a small, very inward-looking drug cult could become a world religion.
A lot of power.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
As far as the morality of the New Testament is concerned, I would say that this is genuine. But that is, love thy neighbour was the prime ethic of these people. But I think it has to be understood in its original terms. That is, as we see among the Dead Sea Scrolls sect at Qumran, a small in-group of inward-looking people who were needing to love one another for the sake of even maintaining sanity. You know, I mean, you know what it's like if you're living in a small group in a monastery, and you have to be extremely careful. You get this very much in the Dead Sea Scrolls, in their manual of discipline. You have to be awfully careful about the feelings of the next chap, and not to interrupt, and so on and so forth. Otherwise, a little friction can soon explode, and the whole community falls apart.
Neighbour and distrust
everyone
else outside
yes,
the group.
That was right. Yes, you get love thy immediate neighbour, strongly stressed in the
secret
within the group. But you could hate the man outside, and the more hate you generated for the man outside, the more you were able to love your neighbour, because the hate and love are the reverse on the same side of the coin. You know, of the coin.
What did he find? As he said, he found evidence that Jesus was not, in fact, a real man, but a sacred name, a secret name for the magic mushroom.
Now, I think if you understand the New Testament ethic in that term of a small community, where loving is an important aspect, and forgiveness and turning the other cheek is absolutely vital, then I think this makes sense. But it does not really make sense, and has never really made sense in a human terms, of loving the whole world.
So when it comes to understanding the cult of the mushroom, he says he finds it hard to understand how they get the philosophy of one world and we must all love each other, because he doesn't partake, he hasn't partaken. The nature of the mushroom itself, when you partake, how it affects us is it enables us to see things not just like visions, but see inside ourselves. It's a journey of exploration, self-exploration. And the reason that the Bible is coded is because all those things that Jesus, the man, supposedly said and done was in actual fact many people experiencing, partaking of the mushroom, and the mushroom sways you, sways your mind, gives you like a third eye, a vision of yourself and a perception of life itself that is completely different to if you don't partake. Very interesting. You'd think that like his discoveries, what he discovered in the Dead Sea Scrolls, would have been complete public knowledge and there would be huge debates about it. Well, he's had a little bit of press over the years, but basically his findings weren't taken seriously. Why would you pay a scholar to define some historical work? Why would you pay that scholar? Because he can do the job, yeah? And then when he does the job, he does such a good job that you don't like what he's found and what he's telling people, so you try and discredit him.
Yes, because
Is that original?
that's not original to the church. That bread and wine sacrament is
Yes.
in the Dead Sea Scrolls already in the pre-Christian time. They talk of the bread and the wine of this messianic banquet, the Christ banquet, when all the followers will be gathered at the foot of the Christ and they will be partaking of the bread and the wine. But nowhere in Judaism, not even in the Dead Sea Scrolls, do you get this extraordinary idea that the bread and the wine were actually the Christ himself.
It's cannibalism.
It's all cannibalism. But you can see how in a sect which is dedicated to the eating of the Son of God and the becoming of one with the God through consuming the God, the sacred mushroom, that would make sense. If you were distributing among them pieces of the mushroom and they were eating it, they would blow their top or whatever they do, then they would consider that they had become one with God, and there would be a sense in which they were eating God. And when you look at the Dionysic cults of ancient Greece, it has been suggested that they were eating the mushroom, the sacred mushroom. I think Robert Graves put forward this idea that the Maenads, these women, were going screaming in a frenzy through the conifer forest, picking these things and eating them. And I think that when they talk about pulling apart the little forms and the animals that they found in the wood, actually tearing them apart and eating them, you have there a piece of mushroom mythology, because as I've shown in my book, names like the fawn are mushroom names. And in that case, the fawn, if you look at the names for these little animals, they are centered on the eye, the hemispherical large eye of the fawn and the gazelle and so forth. These again are Sumerian names, as I've shown.
So the rule is, only through me, says Jesus, will you find the kingdom of heaven. Not because Jesus is a man that's saying, you know, hey, you got to listen to what I'm saying, I'm cool, follow me. But because Jesus was a mushroom that you partake of, and it gives you the sight to see love for everything, to see the workings. It's not merely, oh hey, we're all living in a small community, we've got to get on. It's the mushroom dictating to you because you've partaken of it. It's telling you how to live.
And look for some supporting creature or power in the universe. I think the important thing is that religion is close to sex and is as powerful as sex, you know. I think we underestimate the power of religion. Now and again we see it in its full naked brutality, as well as its glory, but there is this other side to religion, which I think we see in the Eastern religions more perhaps than we do in our rather conventional Western Christianity. And then we realise how emotionally set Christianity is. It derives from within, you know, as I mean by being biologically motivated.
You're talking about the fertility cult.
Yes.
The primitive form was a fertility cult.
That's right.
The first image of mankind over God is a sexual one.
I think it is. Yes, I think it is, because when he looks for the origin of creation, I mean, all this is feeling, but then he begins to rationalize and begins to think about this great force and this great creative deity, whether in the skies or in the earth, male or female, and he thinks of it in human terms. There's no other terms for thinking of. So when he thinks of a creator God, he thinks of the creative act in mankind or in animal kind, and he relates the two. So he says, well, God creates life on earth by an ejaculation of sperm in the form of rain, which he sees around him every day if he's in a happy country like the Isle of Man where it rains all the time. But, you know, I mean, he sees it happening, he sees it going into the womb of Mother Earth, and he relates the two, and so he sees the creation of Mother Earth, the plants of Mother Earth, as an offspring of God. These are the children of God. And then, of course, you go to another stage, don't you? You go to, talking about my mushroom book, you begin to see how certain plants are more representative of their Heavenly Father than others. And that is those plants that have the power to make alive or to kill, the poison plants or the hallucinatory plants, the drug plants. And if, as in the case of the mushroom, which was always invested with great mystery because it seemed to be born of a virgin birth, if you see this coming out of the ground and you know that if you ate a particular mushroom, it could give you visions of heaven and God, you may well believe that this was indeed the Son of God. And if it's shaped like a penis, like a phallus, he sees, well, surely this is the little God from whom this sperm emanated in the first place.
Allegro says the Bible is a cover story. Yeah, it's a cover story because this day and age we don't know the truth about the mushroom. We think that Jesus was a man and that God's some kind of reality that's got nothing to do with a penis.
Has the poison under the little warts there. It is a poison, of course, but it can be quite dangerous. But taken in moderation in certain ways, with certain preparation, this has, I'm told, a hallucinatory effect. I'm not going to try it myself, thank you very much, because it can be quite powerful.
So, Allegro's findings are important and correct, but they're also, because he hasn't partaken of the mushroom, I don't think he fully understands the nature of the cult, the mushroom cult, even though he has discovered the mushroom cult. I don't think he fully understands the mushroom cult, because the Bible itself is almost like, he says, it's coded.
There's no doubt that this particular thing formed the basis of a great many cults in the ancient days, and I think was imported into the Middle East. It was not a native of the Middle East, of course. It only grows in conifers and among conifer forests and birches, but I think it was imported into the Middle East, and in various forms, probably a dried form, was used in many of the ancient religious cults of the Near East, which included, I think, Judaism.
So he talks about Anemometus muscaria not growing in Judea or wherever it is out there, and that it was probably imported. Probably true, but there is a magic mushroom that grows native all over the world, but it's like it's a psilocybin mushroom, but it's not just one, it's several types. So each region has a different type of mushroom, and all those regions that have got different types of mushrooms in their region, they all have a practice in religion, spirituality and understanding of the third eye and spiritual things, much more so than Western civilization, whose Christianity in modern terms has gone very straight because they don't know the truth and the realities that the mushroom creates. So modern day Christianity is like the bones, it's like dead. It's like a museum, you've got them dinosaur bones. Well, that's Christianity for you, because there's no realities, because all that is sacred within the Christian religion isn't seen, understood, or even allowed. It's forbidden. Understanding of the meanings of the words that are in the Bible aren't even understood due to this cover story. But how is it more than a cover story? Well, it's a instruction manual on how to reach the kingdom of heaven, how to see, how to have a real vision. It's the instruction manual, the Bible. It's the way of the warrior for the Yaqui Indian. You know, it's like a mushroom ring of human beings all over the world have been experiencing the same awakenings, visions and understandings through the mushroom. But in the film, Allegro says he wouldn't partake of magic mushrooms because he's a scholar. They're too powerful. He's not about to go on a self-explorational trip, so he wouldn't partake. It's more sacred than anyone can see unless they partake. Allegro was a scholar. He could see the historical evidence and facts pointing towards the truth about their secret. But because he wouldn't partake out of fear for losing his mind or whatever, it's too powerful, he wouldn't partake. He doesn't get the insight as all the whys and wherefores. It's just like, oh, a small drugged up community loving thy neighbour, rather than the realities of if people learned to treat each other like they treated themselves, then obviously that's love thy neighbour, isn't it? And life is greater for you because you're not putting on people and they're not putting on you. But that's not something you can do without the help of a hallucinogenic mushroom. Otherwise you're controlled by yourself and you don't even know you're controlled by yourself. You can't even see how you are controlling yourself and overtaking yourself. Your true inner heart in yourself you cannot see. Because you're too busy being in the sort of two-eyed realm of the two-eyed being.